For quite a long time, I'd have been very happy to take this door off of this Freelander and sell it to somebody. But now I fear that nobody's going to want it. Hang on, shouldn't I practice on a scrap panel first? This is a Rover 45 wing. It's creased, it's dented, it's rusty, and it's had a big hole cut out of it. By me, I cut that hole out of it because it has the same kind of profile as the R8 sill, and it wasn't in particularly good condition. But now I'm going to use this to create more dents and see if I can fix them with the art of panel beating. And it is an art. It's not something you can just do. You've got to practice it, you've got to think a lot. Nobody else can just pick up a guitar and play Smoke on the Water. Although it is an easy tune, it still takes a bit of, I've said the word practice. What the word is it for practice? What can you use instead of the word practice? Just here we can see a slightly raised lump, and then there's another one just there. Rather than faffing around making dents, let's see if I can fix those now. It's not as easy as it looks, and it's also quite easy to scratch the paint a bit. I'm going to come back to that one, and in the meantime I'm going to create a dent here that's very typical of wing damage. That's perfect. That's the perfect dent. If I can remove that, I'll be happy. Well, I did remove it, but I made it a bit worse as well. And this is the tricky part of making things better without making them worse. Let's try another one. Ooh, I've damaged the paint a bit there. That wasn't the intention. Can't believe I forgot to do this earlier on. But at this stage of the video, I'm going to show you my new tool. This basic panel beating kit. 3 hammers, of which I've already put some masking tape on the ends of some, and then these pieces here for hammering behind the metal you're trying to straighten. I've probably said at some point that I don't mind a dent in a car. The bits I don't like are scratches and rough paint. But now I've changed my mind because I want more. I want more skills. I want to be in control of how good a car looks rather than just accepting how it looks. So today I'm going to be really working hard with a hammer. Let me show you something. Ripply dents, door nudge dent, some sort of Volvo dent. Dents are everywhere because people are clumsy. Even me from time to time, I've dented my own car. I haven't got Nigel here today, and that's got the most dents of them all. Rather bad crease dent on that one. If I can remove dents from a spare wing, I'll be able to do it on cars as well. I've just got to spend quite a long time developing a feel for it. Just there, I've created a small indentation, the kind of dent you would get when you punch your car. And I know that's a thing. I've seen people punch cars before because it's an inanimate object and you get into less trouble for punching your own car than what you would do another person. You could say it's therapeutic. You can tell a really angry person who's trying to keep things under control because their car's covered in dents. Either that or they're just not very good at driving. This time I've drawn a little circle around the actual dent of the size that it actually is, as some sort of guide that may or may not help. How many of you are already thinking of that Father Ted episode where there's a little tiny dent on a brand new Rover? Well, you are now, and I certainly am. The principle is relatively straightforward. You have a piece of metal, which should be a similar profile to the panel that you're shaping that goes on the inside. And then you tap the outside around the dent. Not on the dent, but around it very, very gently until it lifts, and then it's gone. But like watching an episode of Love Island, you're going to lose patience. In fact, you might not even bother starting. I wanted to copy the kind of dent that this car achieved whilst it got in the way of somebody being clumsy with that gate over there. I used the block of wood and I knocked it just there whilst holding onto it, and it bloody hurts. There, first tip for myself for future reference. Don't directly hold something that you're about to give a wallop with a piece of wood, because that really stings. That was a bit aggressive, wasn't it? And that kind of dent really stretches the metal. So I've gone behind it and knocked it quite hard initially, and I've popped it back out. But quite a lot of ripple effect just round the edges there. I need a special light for this, I think. The end result isn't really any better than the start. The pin dent is definitely gone, but I do have a bit of a ripple there that no matter how much I beat it, just doesn't really want to go away. Is that better or is it worse? Because we're back to Father Ted again here. I really don't want to start tackling a dent on one of my cars and it end up being worse because of it. So that's why I'm just going to spend all day probably doing this now. I'm going to try a really awkward one. Can we see that just there? A slight dent. Typical of a Rover 45 wing because the metal's quite thin. And traditionally the drivers of such cars were a bit clumsy. It's still there. Well, I've spent all day battering away on this knackered wing and the results are mixed because I don't want to blame the tool. This flat edge, for example, isn't really flat enough. You can see there's bits that stick up, and I'm finding that as I batter away with that, bits like that are causing dents. And this part here, I've done that so many times. I've put so many dents in it and tried to pull them back out, and now it looks a bit like a bad filler job. So, final thing before I go, I've just put a nice big dent there. I'm going to see if I can knock that out a bit. I just want to get close enough where I can start battering my own car and making it better. Battered out, but a long way from being finished. A very long way. Where do I go from here? It was about an hour ago when I first introduced this wing to this particular dent here. I decided I'll just have a quick knockout of this, then go on because it's past home time anyway. But I'm not happy with it, and neither would anybody else be. So I don't know whether to just go ahead and watch a whole lot more panel beating videos that would help me get over this raised part there. It's raised because, you know, I whacked it with a hammer, so it's dented, it's stretched the metal. So I've got to kind of unstretch it so it fits back properly again. I think I'll just have another cup of tea and then go home. That's enough. I am ready to be judged over my efforts. Unfortunately, there's quite a lot of marks on the paintwork. I don't think anyone's going to want to buy this wing now. Well, that's it. I'm off home. And I've got to say, that was a great day. I really enjoyed doing that. Hammering away all day. Who'd have thought I'd enjoy it? Well, me for one. What I need now are a couple more panels to really get practicing on. But you know, I weighed them all in a little while back because I didn't think anyone was going to buy them. And they didn't. Well, they haven't asked anyway. Might ask a leg rod man. He's bound to have some spare bits knocking about that he's just going to end up binning otherwise. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it was good, because I don't know myself at the moment. There's just a load of jumbled up parts. That's all they ever are, really, and I just have a kind of knack of putting them together in such a way where I think, yeah, that's all right, that is. Yeah. If you did give it a like, give it a comment. If you're not a subscriber, why not do that? Thanks to my current subscribers and my current channel members, much appreciated. And I shall see you in the next video. Video, 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 ooh, video, 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 video. That's more tiring than panel beating.